Let's discuss Microsoft and EA's E3 press conferences. Hello to all my cool peeps out there. This is James with RedButtonJamFest.com, and this is part 2 in a series of E3 videos I'm doing where I'm just analyzing, breaking down some of my favorite parts, and also even trying to rate all the cool E3 press conferences and coverage that has been happening thus far this week. If you didn't catch it, I'm going to pop it up the screen right here. Yep, plug alert. I did do a video earlier about the Nintendo World Championship and the Bethesda press conference as I guess you could call it an E3 day -1. But right now, in this review, I'm going to go over the Microsoft press conference and the EA press conference. And don't worry, I will also go over the Ubisoft and Sony's in another video, which should come up shortly after this one. So let's get right to it. Let's get to the meat here. The Microsoft press conference. This is it. This is where you have one of the big three taking the central stage, and Microsoft's in a very precarious position. We all know this. Their system, the Xbox One, is selling fairly well, even by standards of last generation, but it's still trailing, notably behind Sony, who's just ever since launch has been kind of on this huge hardcore gamer enticing spent. It is definitely becoming supercharged, almost pseudo PS2, PS1 era Sony. But I would not count Microsoft out of this, especially after this press conference. Right away, Microsoft started off with something I think was incredible, which is Halo 5. And yes, it is a fifth of Halo. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I played the first Halo a few months before the original Xbox was released back in 2001, that got me pumped on the original Xbox. And 2, introduced me to love of Xbox Live. 3, the beta was amazing. The actual game was all right. And Halo 4 was okay. But, you know, Halo 5, it's being done by this 343 Studios. I was kind of lukewarm on it. You know, it's a concept that we've seen for now quite some time. And after what they showed, I am actually very stoked. My enthusiasm level went from, I would say about a 6 or 7 out of 10 to now about a 9. I am really ready to get this game when it comes out on October 27th. They show off quite a bit of campaign. They hinted that there'll be 2 sets of co-op teams, a Master Chief team going against another team that is essentially going to be going after them, from what I assume. But what's really cool about this is that, unlike other Halo games, almost my tongue got tied there, is that you always, when you co-op with your friends, it was always like they're different clones of Master Chief. Like their essence in the story isn't really recounted for, and it's always kind of weird, but you just go along with it. This time, you actually, each person assumes a person with a name, a voice, and a personality in the story mode, and that is really cool. Another cool thing is Warzone, where you're having both these AI, very large maps with 2 teams going at each other, with AI thrown in between, and some mobile-like elements as well. So Warzone sounds very interesting. It sounds like a really cool new mode I can't wait to try out. And overall, I'm really excited about Halo 5. And then the next game they showed off was, and this caught me right away, I saw the name Keiji, sorry if I mispronounced the name, Inafune, the man behind Mega Man and such other great Capcom classics. And Metroid Prime members, not all of them, but some of them, are working on this game called Recore. And even though they didn't really show much gameplay, it's just the talent alone and the artistry that was shown in this trailer, it's starting to get me stoked. I'm like, sweet, they're following up one established franchise with a new IP, and they had a good momentum. And there's one thing about this Microsoft press conference was momentum. They kept a brisk pace. They went announcement after announcement. There wasn't much slug through this, and practically all the announcements were pretty nice. It was only probably one dull moment, which is when they showed off Forza 6. And when they showed Forza 6, beautiful game, not a game for me, but I know it's a solid simulation racer. But here's the thing. They spent about half a minute lowering down a car onto the E3 stage just to be there as Henry Ford III and one of the creators behind Turntable just talks about the game. And then that was it. Literally a couple minutes of a car sitting on a stage, half a minute wasted lowering that car down for just basically a visual of a Ford car. I mean, I know they're trying to hint that there's going to be a legacy to this, but maybe to car aficionados, this is a big thing. But to me, who I consider myself a hardcore gamer, what? But besides the point, you know, outside of Forza Motorsport 6, this was a very nice announcement-filled, brisk conference, and I enjoyed pretty much every minute of it. I mean, to go scale back a little bit, almost threw myself off guard there at the Forza, but after Recore, they showed off a new controller, which is going to have these little paddles on the back. It's made of sterner stuff, but the cost of it's $150, which I might tackle another game, Dingleberries, let's discuss, but that price seems a bit excessive, and I know it's geared towards the pro gamer. Maybe once I get my hands on it and play some fighting games and play some shooters, I might grow to understand that this is very intuitive and maybe is worth $150. But in all honesty, if the current controller is $60, their markup, I personally used to work in a retail environment, so I knew the markup of the controllers through a storefront. The markup was roughly $25. The producer themselves, I'm guessing, it's got to be at least making $10 or so per controller, if not more so. So the $150, I feel like there's quite a bit of markup in that price. And to sum my thoughts up on that, I kind of feel like it should be $100. But besides the point, maybe they'll shut me up once I get my hands on one of those, and I might throw down $150. But after that, they went on a big, huge announcement, and this announcement right here is backwards compatibility. And there's still some questions around it. I still have personal questions. I've been trying to look up on it myself. But from my understanding is they're looking towards having at least 100 game support off the bat, starting this holiday season for general Xbox One users. Preview users could get a little taste of a few games right now if they want to. But the thing about it is you put in a disc, and from what I get, you get the digital copy of the game. So it's not spinning the disc. So that makes me concerned is this downloading digital copies of games? Therefore, do I need to really worry about hard drive space now when I do backwards compatibility? Not to be a sour apple in this bunch, but it does make me question that. And I could be completely wrong, but from what I'm getting is it's supposed to be digital versions of these games able to be emulated onto the system itself. If anybody who is a preview member right now, please correct me if I'm wrong. I hope I am, because I hope that I don't need to worry about hard drive space when I play old Xbox 360 games. But the idea that you're able to live stream, take screenshots, to have a constant party chat, to have the live functionality of multiplayer with the 360 games on your Xbox One is great, especially to someone like me who's kind of been in a rut of 360s. I'm on my fifth 360 because of hardware failures. Yes, so that is going to be a ticking time bomb, and I'm hoping that they start supporting some really cool games like Dead Space. But, it's fair enough that they'll start off right away with Halo and Gears of War and other really good Xbox 360 titles. So that announcement was huge. It was kind of an arrow shot towards Sony. It was a very interesting thing. Sony currently has the PlayStation Now, which is a streaming service, but this is a no added cost proposition of playing your old games. And I do applaud Microsoft on it. That was a really cool announcement that came out of left field. And I definitely had a good smile across my face. And then what also made me smile was Rare. Here I go, I'm going to swear. Finally, Rare is let off their chain. I mean, Rare, where were they? They were essentially developing the avatars for 360, and then they went on to a series of Kinect games. I know they lost a lot of their core talent group, but come on, Microsoft, seriously. And I feel like Rare was very underutilized throughout the 360 life cycle. And I'm so happy to see that not only there's going to be a Rare collection coming out August 4th with Conker's Bad Fur Day and Banjo-Kazooie. Hell yeah. And Battletoads? Fuck yeah. For $30, I don't care if I have several copies already in the household. I'm going to get that. But they also showed off a new IP, and the new IP for what they showed, it was cool. It showed a lot of what seems to be pre-alpha gameplay, but it looks like an MMO pirate game with the art flair of classic Rare. And I'm glad that they're doing original IP. As much as I would love to see Conker 2, I'm actually happy that they're able to just do another original IP. And this looks like a solid IP, and I hope it works out for them. Both in the game turning out well and also the sales turning out well to encourage more games from Rare, because Rare is a great company. I feel like they could push forward. They are great assets to Microsoft that has been underutilized for quite a number of years, and that is partly to their making too. Perfect Dark Zero was a rush job. Not gonna lie, grabbed by the ghoulies. So I know that Rare hasn't been super hot even initially when they were under Microsoft's tent. But I feel like this looks like a good turn of the tide, and I'm happy to see it. And of course, one of the things that Brian pointed out was that Phil Spencer, he had his jacket up Well, later on in the show, he zipped it down. You can see he had a rare logo underneath, so that was pretty cool. And I have to say, unlike Don Matrick, who I did not care for, Phil Spencer seems like an upright guy. I think he's cool, and I think that they're under great hands right now under that company, Microsoft. So, and yeah, I sound like a little bit of fanboy, but trust me, I got a PS4 before the Xbox One. I got a Wii U as well, and it's definitely not a me vouching for Microsoft because for some reason I'm getting money from Phil Spencer. No, it's because they did a damn good press conference. They did a good job. And right after that announcement of Rare, we also seen the EA Access, which is going to give early access to Microsoft. It seems like they're going to offer their games for a consistent monthly model. Interested? It depends really just on flat out pricing and games available, because that could be a very bad idea really easily. And also they showed off The Division, which still looks like a very promising game. And essentially the bonus for Xbox One users is you get early access to the beta in December, unlike January for PS4 users. So it's not a humongous thing. But what I also thought was cool that they did show off some indie games, and they showed Cuphead. Cuphead looks awesome. It's a 1930 style cartoon platformer with the twisted plot of the devil and soul. It just looks great. It looks funny. Its art style definitely grabs the eyes. And then after that indie showcase, they showed Rise of the Tomb Raider. And Rise of the Tomb Raider is pretty big. I love Uncharted, but I have to admit, Uncharted was influenced in part by Tomb Raider. But it took that concept and went beyond and created a really great story and a really relatable character in Uncharted. And I love Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, 2 being probably up there on my short list of favorite games of all time. So seeing that Microsoft has, even though it's only a time exclusivity, for them to have Rise of Tomb Raider at least for this holiday season, to say, hey, we do have something of that style of Uncharted, not exactly a clone, it's just taking little bits from Uncharted and it's going beyond its other direction, it's great to see that. And Rise of Tomb Raider, they showed this whole nice, beautiful snow-cap gameplay demo, which was awesome. Laura was walking through the snow and you could see the trails as she's taking each step, not just footprints, but just that kind of trailblaze, if that's a technical phrase, trailblaze, of just the snow in her wake. And just, obviously I felt bad for the guy that she literally was swinging off of, because he probably would have had a broken shoulder at that point. And basically he said, oh shit, a bazillion times. So what the heck, Laura, what are you doing with that guy? Nice big guy that he is. What a lovely man. But Rise of Tomb Raider has tombs. It looks gorgeous. I totally would love to pick that up for the Xbox One come this holiday season. I think it looks very solid of a game. And of course, I'm jumping around a little bit. They did the Rare stuff after that. But, what was really nice was seeing Gears. And here's the thing. I love Gears of War. Gears of War 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, Judgment is a prequel. The cool thing is that with Gears 1, 2, and 3, I played with a friend co-op through all those games. Gears of War 1 multiplayer alone, I spent many, many, many nights, many, many, many hours playing with my friends. This is before party chat, so you're literally it was just so tense. You're playing execution mode. You only have one life to live. Your partners are dead. Next thing I know, I'm like, Bill? Ryan? And you notice you're by yourself, and you're like, fuck, you need to get your head in the game. It just gets so tense and online for that game, and I love it. And I hope Microsoft announced the Gears of War Ultimate Edition. I'm hoping that it sticks to a lot of even the sluggishness of the first Gears as it was in 360. From what I understand, it is, but it's going to have dedicated servers, because that game was awesome. Gears of War 2 multiplayer is okay. Gears of War 3 picked it back up to took it higher of a level. But Gears of War 1 always holds a special spot in my heart, and I'm really glad that they're doing an Ultimate Edition of it, that they are remaking it, that they're redoing all those art assets and redoing the cinematics. So it looks like they're putting a lot of love in just a remake. And of course, they ended off this whole conference with Gears of War 4. And Gears 4, as they put as a title. And it didn't show too much. There was some cool scenes of a tornado, like Twister style. There was an interesting creature that looked like a Krogan at the end of this thing. They didn't show too much of this. And I was slightly disappointed that they didn't go too much into it, but it was a more suspenseful gameplay, so it's a little bit slower. But I was excited about the game overall and excited about the prospect of it. And interested to see where the story goes. But overall, it's been a very solid conference. And one thing I have to say is, I am glad they didn't do a Call of Duty demo. I know that sounds audacious, and I know Call of Duty sells millions of copies, enjoyed by millions of gamers, and the idea of them not having exclusive maps for it is kind of a hit to them. But to be perfectly honest, after watching, I would assume, I could be wrong, I would say about at least 4, if not up to 6 years, the last 6 years of E3s, seeing Call of Duty demos start or end their shows over and over and over again, I was glad that they didn't have that crutch, that they could show Halo at the start, they could show Gears at the end, and have a lot of solid stuff, new IPs and new announcements in the middle. And that shows a lot to me, that they didn't need Call of Duty to have a solid press conference. And, I know Call of Duty's significance in the marketplace, so don't get me wrong, as I will go to a next video with Sony, that was a big bonus to them. But I think Microsoft did a hell of a great job, and I was just glad that it surprised me in that sense, because I pretty much predicted to the dime, I would bet money to be like, yeah, it'll either have a Call of Duty at the start or the end of the show. For them not to have it, all right, props to them. But I would say overall, if I had to rate this, I would give it an A-. I think it was a very good press conference, and and we know that there's going to be a lot of games that was shown that's coming out later this year. And there was a few surprises that I did not see coming. So overall, a very solid press conference. It was well paced. It was pretty much all about the games outside of the damn Ford car. But besides the point of that, it was pretty well done. Unlike the next press conference I'm going to get to go on. So we had a few hours break here, me and my homie Brian playing some games. And then finally, it was EA's turn to show us what they have going on. And I'm not in the camp of hating EA. They brought a lot of controversial things into play, I understand. But they also allowed the development of games such as Mirror's Edge and Dead Space 1 and 2, even though they seem to pretty much squander that with Dead Space 3. But overall, I am not have axe to grind against EA. But this press conference, oh my god. Definitely a night and day from the Microsoft conference. It started off with a Mass Effect CG trailer. Cool. But, whereas last year they showed little art clips, they say, yeah, we're doing a Mass Effect. This is a little bit more with the trailer, but I was expecting a little bit more than this. So it was really a big tease. And then what we also get into is the EA Sports. And this is their bread and butter, but let's face facts. Watching basketball, they gave a lot of time to basketball. And what was even worse, and I know this is a big seller internationally, so don't get me wrong, the FIFA game. They bookended with trailers. They had this long interview with Pele. I respect the man, but for the love of God, that was just an excruciating interview. That didn't pertain too much to the games as much as to the sport of soccer. Was I watching ESPN? Let's get back to the games here, and let's not diss American football. Look, come on, I appreciate both soccer and American football, but Pele, let's keep that down there. You're in America. But besides the point, we had the slugs of the sport games being showed off. Madden and the Ultimate Team, so they had their little gripes here and there. They did show off a new Need for Speed that supposedly is going to use VR. That looks really cool, actually. That was a pretty neat thing. And another really cool thing was they showed a game called Unravel. And this is another yarn-based game, but it actually uses the yarn as part of the story, where as you do it's a platformer essentially, and your character, as he moves through this world, he leaves a part of himself. So as you're moving across the stage, you can see where you're leaving parts and fragments, and you also use that little treading yarn of yours to swing and solve puzzles and things like that. So they're using yarn not only as an aesthetic of the character, but also as part of the gameplay mechanics, and that makes it really neat. And of course, I'm a quarter Swedish. I have much love for Sweden, so to know that's from northern Swedish developer was pretty neat. And I had my heart out for the guy. The guy that came out and presented Unravel was noticeably nervous. He had his hands were shaking as they zoomed in and him showing his little figure, and his voice was starting to quiver a little bit. I felt for the guy because I personally have trouble public speaking myself, and I was definitely like, you can do it, man. I believe in you. But to get on forward, what they also showed off, and it's from DICE, another Swedish company, was Mirror's Edge. And Mirror's Edge Catalyst looks like a cool game. I don't know why they just don't call it Mirror's Edge 2. I mean, it's not like they're up to the 5th Mirror's Edge to really necessarily using subtitles to throw people off. But you know what? Whatever. They call it Mirror's Edge Catalyst. We'll stick with it. I'm just really glad that game is even coming out. I enjoyed the first Mirror's Edge. And this one sounds like it's going to be an even more open world parkour experience. Hardcore parkour. And I am looking so forward to it. And what they showed was it was pretty good. It was pretty beefy of a demonstration. So I do enjoy that. And what they also showed off, of course, was Star Wars Battlefront, which was the way they capped everything off. And that was a really good demo. The fact that they showed that you could be in the air, you could be on the floor as a foot soldier, you could be AT-AT, you could be Luke fighting Darth Vader. They showed many different aspects of this one battle. Even though the battle was done on Hoth, which we've seen a bazillion times since Shadows of the Empire for Nintendo 64. I would love for them maybe to show off the Episode 7 planet they have in development. Come on there. You know. Even, well, I guess they already showed a trailer, so that would have been redundant. So, Hoth still looks beautiful. It looks like a fun game. But overall, like, I know I'm going through this a little fast, but really, that's how you sum up EA. It was so dull for, I would say, a solid third or so of the conference. And it was definitely dragging on in a few parts here and there. I know sport games is their bread and butter, and before you say I don't play sport games, I do play NBA 2K, not NBA Live, but 2K, let's face it, has been a really good franchise for the last few years in comparison. And I also play Madden, so it's not like I hate sport games in general, but they just went on, I felt like, too long on sport games, and it was just too dry. It felt too unnecessary to American crowd, especially with FIFA, to really go on that long with it. I was just like, come on, stop this already. The trailer and the interview, and then another trailer, I'm like, okay, you gotta stop. Oh, stop it, EA, please, for the love of God. If I had the ability to, I would have flipped the channel, but I wanted to just watch because I felt like there was going to be a humongous announcement that I don't want to miss after this slugfest. But for most of it, it was a slugfest. So for EA, if I had to rate it, if I had to break it down, I would have to give it a D+. They didn't really have a surprise. I mean, Battlefront, we all knew that was be coming. Mass Effect, we all saw that coming. Mirror's Edge, we all saw that coming. Them showing sports games, we all saw that coming. I mean, one of the few surprises was the game Unravel, but that, as much as I would like to play the game, it's not like my head exploded just after seeing Unravel, like I just been revealed a very cool game. I mean, a super, 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 super awesome game. It is a very cool game, but it just was a very slow, it almost felt like, just felt like I was watching a lecture. Just a very boring lecture about the history of soccer at one point. And sorry, I don't hate soccer, but I just hate how much they talked about the soccer video game. Overall, it was a D+. They could do better. I know they could do better, whether they have more things in development or they really just don't. That's EA. That is EA having to deal with itself. I mean, not the worst conference I ever seen. I have seen worse E3 conferences over the years. They don't have that dubious honor, but it's definitely, as spoiler alert, of all the conferences that I have seen, it's the worst for this year. But is it worth a watch? It really depends on how hardcore you want to make your E3 experience. I would just say that watching a trailer for the Battlefront and maybe Unravel, and if you're interested in Mirror's Edge or Mass Effect, maybe just watch those separately, but watching the whole conference just wasn't really worth it. It wasn't much build-up. It wasn't much to take away outside of those trailers themselves from any of the speakers to really give a much credence to this conference. You know, if anybody should have had a digital event of just trailers, it could have just easily been EA over Nintendo, which I'll get onto later. But overall, D+ for EA. And Microsoft, I know I'm going to say they're great again. but I'll give them an A-. Overall, the start of this day has been very good for E3, and if you like to catch up on part 2, I'm going to pop up the link right there as that comes up. Other than that, if you want to catch more great content, there is more than just this. We do Let's Plays, we do podcasts, we talk about history, we talk about science, we talk about movies, talk about comics, talk about even good BBQ. We do a lot more content on redbuttonjamfest.com, and you also could subscribe us right here on YouTube as well. And follow us on Twitch if you just like to watch us do Twitch. We do play games on Twitch as well. Those are all the plugs I got for you. And you could give me an email if you want to see another topic get covered or if you have some questions. My email address is jimwa@redbuttonjamfest.com. Thank you again for everyone for hearing my thoughts on this, and I hope you're all having a great summer thus far. Love you all. Take care.